Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have subscribed, who like and who share my videos, because that helps to circulate my channel and all of my videos out to more and more individuals just like you who are seeking and needing this information. So thank you. And I'm always love each and every one of your comments and questions. So today, this is viewer request number 8 for Chiron, a read from my Chiron book. Those of you who are interested in knowing which book I'm reading from, it's by Melanie Reinhardt, Chiron and the Healing Journey. Chiron, if you don't already know, is considered the wounded healer. So wherever Chiron is in your natal wheel, house placement, and zodiac sign will be where you will first be injured and then healed. Okay, so, and this viewer request, again, it's number 8. And this is for all of you who have Chiron in Pisces and or the 12th house. In the sign of Pisces and the 12th house, the last of the cycle, forms disintegrate. The past is dissolved and our separateness is relinquished so that a new and more inclusive cycle of life can begin, hopefully accompanied by the wisdom of the previous cycle. This sign and house link us to the feeling life of the transpersonal and the collective, especially the longing for the return to unity. This may be experienced in many ways, from the chaos of a football match to the rarefied atmosphere of a meditation on universal love. For collective and transpersonal feeling can be savage as well as uplifting. Jung has written at length about the dualism inherent in the sign of the fishes that are yoked together but eternally swim in opposite directions. Here things may not be what they seem. Deception, emotional manipulativeness, and genuine transcendental experiences can weave together in a confusing blend which defies rational understanding. In this sign and house, the urge to be reborn as an individual with a more inclusive consciousness is eternally at odds with the urge to destroy individuality and regress into a pre-conscious state of womb-like bliss. With this Chiron placement, we often have difficulty gaining a sense of personal individuality and separateness. Steps in this direction may initially be fraught with guilt or even illness. On the other hand, if we are too defended against the oceanic experience of Pisces in the 12th house and too enclosed in a shell of brittle defensiveness, which is Virgo and the 6th house, which is the opposite of Pisces in the 12th house, we might regress, drown our sorrows in drink, seek refuge in drugs, pursue a life of crime, or exile ourselves from society. If you have Chiron in Pisces or the 12th house, loss of personal identity through the experience of ecstasy and the feeling of unity with the entire cosmos is probably a strong psychological need for you, and your dilemma will be how to honor this without getting swept away and regressing to an enwombed state and ignoring the tides of material or emotional chaos, which then surge through your life. And I want to say, those of you who don't know that I have all of my personal information, emails and all of that, and my chart information, so any of you can take a look, for those of you who wish to, in the drop down box below each and every one of my videos. And so those of you who already know, I have Pisces, Chiron in the 12th house. So I'm very familiar with what it is saying. So I have an understanding for those of you also who have this placement. Okay, I'm going to fast forward. I'm not going to, they start talking about Poseidon and all of that. So I'm going to skip that because this is going to be long anyway. But always, each and every one of you who would like a written copy of this, just send me your email address and let me know that you would like a copy of this or any one of my written videos, and I would be happy to send it to you. Again, my email is in the drop-down box below. Okay, so let me fast forward. The impossibility of sorting out the inner world, Virgo style, is made abundantly clear. With Chiron and Pisces or the 12th house, we may struggle to establish inner order and neglect the practical aspects of life, the Virgo or 6th house, or become preoccupied with this only to have it threatened time and again by our inner chaos, which is back to Pisces in the 12th house. When we pause to reflect on the meaning of these mythic patterns as regards to Chiron in the 12th house and Pisces, which again they are speaking about, which I skipped, which is talking about Poseidon and Zeus and all of that, we can see the theme of sacrifice here showing into distinct forms, perhaps like the two fish. Whether or not we are ready and willing, this placement requires that we sacrifice our separatist notions of individuality and take a wider perspective into account. However, as we cannot sacrifice something which we do not have in the first place, we may have to struggle hard to gain any sense of separate individuality. Those who have Chiron and Pisces have transiting Chiron square its own place later than any other sign, at about the age of 23. By this time, most of the first Saturn cycle has passed, providing the opportunity to be grounded in the world of form before the first Chiron square, when the Piscean themes of the natal placement often erupt. With Chiron and Pisces or the 12th house, we may experience this grounding process itself as a sacrifice, for our natural dwelling is in the realm of oneness, and the process of differentiating is felt as exceptionally painful. If this first sacrifice is not made, however, we may instead destroy the outer structures of life, and this creates difficulties in the world of solid objects, material reality, and Saturnian requirements. Relationships, jobs, projects, or homes may be swept away if we cling to an undifferentiated state of unity and refuse the world of form. We then sacrifice the ordinary bull of our ordinary life instead of the special bull of our inflated sense of specialness. We may have a horror of ordinariness or all the suffering it entails. We perhaps feel a certain comfort in hanging back where all is possible but nothing actually happens, thus sacrificing form before it has even had a chance to manifest. The bull is an ancient symbol of phallic power, instinctual fertility, and procreation. Its sacrifice is also a relevant image here. He who performs a sacrifice often wishes to incorporate. Let me start over, excuse me. He who performs a sacrifice often wishes to incorporate into himself the qualities and attributes of his victim, human or animal. Here again is the omega, the eating of the body of the god, mentioned in chapter 5. Okay, this is again talking about, I'll just go ahead and read it, but I don't like to get too deeply into this specific part because I have a lot to read. So you know what, I'm gonna fast forward this part. So again, those of you who want to read this, send me an email. I will definitely send it to you. With Chiron in Pisces or the 12th house, then the first sacrifice is like the omega, where in order to claim some sense of separate individuality and power to enter into life, we may need to, quote, eat the bull. To re-embrace and honor the primal phallic potency that lies within us. This may mean encountering, for perhaps the first time, our selfishness, powerful will, and the destruction we can wreak with great subtlety if we are crossed. Chiron connects us with the primitive underside of any house or sign in which it is found. And here the territory at first looks very foreign indeed, being so different to the Piscean stereotype to which we have become accustomed. This is so true. This is so true. With Chiron in Pisces or the 12th house, we perhaps feel deep envy for people who seem to possess a solid sense of personal identity, like Poseidon coveting the solid land his brothers inherited. We may then react by sending floods of emotional moods and deviousness calculated to wear away the city walls of the victim we envy and on whom we have projected our latent sense of individuality. We then develop complex relationships with people, trying to absorb by osmosis their individuality. For with displacement, our struggle for personal territory is rarely overt. Absolutely. Pisces and the 12th house, we're talking about subconscious, and we're talking about passive aggressive. That's what they're talking about. And this is absolutely true. Again, it's something that we won't automatically know because it's stuck in the 12th house or Pisces, which is the natural house of the 12th house. So we're not going to know. It's going to be in our subconscious. It's not going to be out. We're not going to be able to, without reading, without being shown, like it's saying, we put that on others, and so it comes out through others. So we are sending it to them. So we are watching them react to what we are sending them. And you might not even know that you're sending this energetically to somebody else, and they're acting out what you are sending them. But becoming aware of this, then you can look back and see, okay, because this is enabling you now to get a look into something, a part of yourself, a negative part of yourself, like it said, a selfish part that's hidden away, where you are feeling powerless, that destructive part of ourselves. Again, we are very powerful energetically, and so when we don't know that, we don't know that we're sending those negative energies out. Okay, so a sense of guilt may accompany the development of our sense of individuality. There you go. Because we don't know, which I remember having just this general sense of guilt all the time. Guilt, fear, and then even anger started coming up, which is what they're talking about, which I'm sure those of you who are listening can understand this and or will be able to when you start looking back, when you're ready to see this part of yourself, which it takes time. So it's okay if you don't see this part of yourself right away. It's all right. With Chiron and Pisces, or the 12th house, we could have difficulty with angry feelings. See there, right there, that accompany the process of growing beyond the role of a child dependent upon parent figures. In ancient Greek rites, he who murdered someone of near kin was stoned by the community and ritually put to death, cast out of the city. The remedy, the purifier of evils. The pervasive feelings of worthlessness and self-blame that may plague us often have their roots in suppressed anger. There you go. Absolutely. And I did have suppressed anger, very much so. And then you take a look at your south node of the moon and find out what that is all about in your natal wheel, your house placement, and your zodiac sign of your south node of the moon. And because that is where the south node is the area in life where each one of us, this is where our personal work resides. But you have to bring that out into your conscious awareness first, because at birth it's placed into our subconscious, which is just like this Pisces, whatever planets you have or planet you have in Pisces and or the 12th house, it's secreted away from us. Our south node for each and every one of us is the same. So we don't know. It's just a cycle that we keep repeating. And so once you're able to bring that out into your conscious awareness, then you can take care of it properly. But you could have suppressed anger in that area too. That's the reason I brought it up, is because I definitely did. Especially if those of us who have our south node in the 8th house or in Scorpio or both. I have it both. Or you have it even in the opposite sign of Taurus or the 2nd house. 5th house south node, some of you. South node in Leo maybe as well. And some others that I don't know so well, but check that out if you are ready to do that, you find that out. And if you can look back in my past viewer requests for the nodes, I have done, I believe now, 15 of them, 15 or 16 of them. And if I haven't done a video for your specific part, or either part, because there are 2 parts, house placement and zodiac sign, let me know. I will absolutely do that. If you want written copies of your nodes, let me know. I will send them to you. I just need your email address. Okay. The second sacrifice, to pursue this analogy, takes the form of the consecration of the bull of our active potency and creative power. Instead of the love of power, which unconscious instinctual energy can demonstrate, we become imbued with the power of love, offering our individual talents, fertility, and self-expression for the good of all. This surrender, as a conscious choice, fulfills our individuality rather than dismembers it, and provides an opportunity to be of service to others. However, if we should cheat or defy Poseidon, another theme of this Chiron placement, comes into being: unfulfillable longing. We may be consumed with passionate longing for someone unattainable. It could be a film star or a character in a book over whom we secretly weep. It could be someone else's husband or wife, like the special bull of King Minos. It might be someone who embodies a powerful, proud, and instinctual sense of individuality. Whoever is the object of this passion, however, it has the effect of dismembering us. Thus, the sacrifice comes to pass with the help of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Note, Venus is exalted in Pisces. But these painful longings, lying like the Minotaur in his labyrinth, can also be the means by which our heart is opened to the suffering of others. So if we start with, meaning we will suffer Chiron, experiencing those specific sufferings will enable us to be able to be opened up and understand others' suffering. So we will become wise to that, so that we can become more compassionate in that area, whatever that area of your personal suffering. With Chiron in Pisces, or the 12th house, the life of our imagination can be experienced as totally real, especially when we are young. We initially lack sufficient foregoing discrimination of the different levels of reality, and might become confused or alienated. However, Poseidon can also send Poseidon, okay, they're talking about Neptune and Poseidon. That is the planet. The natural planet for Poseidon is Neptune, which is the natural. Neptune is the planet for Pisces and the 12th house. That's why they keep saying Poseidon. So you can think of it as Neptune. And you might want to, some of you might want to check and see where your specific Neptune placement is, and how, is it square to Chiron? Is it opposing or conjunct to Chiron? By house placement and or zodiac sign? Because that would put another flavoring in, another layer for you to take a look at and get to know for yourself. Okay, so where is that? Now I lost my place. Just a moment here. Okay, so however, Poseidon can also send the affliction. Neptune can send the affliction of drought. And some people with this placement retreat into an uncomfortable foregoing cynicism, pragmaticism, and hyper-rationality, with a corresponding tendency to be over-literal and rigid. So you go the opposite way. just factual and rational, not seeing any other, not allowing yourself to use your Piscean part of imagination and all of that. With this Chiron placement, we may deeply fear the experience of surrender and disillusion, and hence increase our Virgoan boundaries, mental divisiveness, and emotional control. Okay, yes, absolutely. You might have a fear, just this lingering fear, and you don't know where it comes from. And so that's why you're staying on the Virgo side of just the facts and not allowing any of your creativity, your intuitive abilities, or any of that. Or maybe, yes, they're blocked because of your fear. I absolutely know that for a fact too, because fear was another, like I mentioned earlier, just this fear of general fear that I always had, because again, you're blocked from the information of your Pisces, whatever planet, or if it's in the 12th house, either or, you're blocked from that. It's imprisoned. You're imprisoned. That energy is imprisoned, and it is closed off even from you. So you have to physically seek it out, read about it, an astrologer telling you about it, so that then you can read about it, whatever that is. Those of you, that's what you're doing right now. So good for you. With Chiron and Pisces, or the 12th house, we may need to sacrifice our urge to redeem others. And then it's talking about Neptune again and Poseidon. With such a preoccupation, we tend to sacrifice our own health and well-being for others, doing voluntary work or entering professions such as nursing. Feeling that we must help others may be our downfall if our concern with humanity at large means that we unwittingly do violence to our own needs for separation, isolation, and individual enterprise. Chiron and Pisces, or the 12th house, may ask us first to accept suffering as part of the fabric of life, without being tempted to take it upon ourselves, and perhaps to identify with a Christ-like figure who redeems others by taking away their suffering, or by feeling it for them. Being a scapegoat. That's what a scapegoat is. Scapegoating yourself. If you don't know what that is, you might want to look that up. If we are so tempted, we then identify with the victim, and the burden of unjustified suffering may seem to be our lot. We believe in the redemptive power of innocent suffering without considering whether there is an alternative. We may be repeatedly drawn into situations guaranteed to result in more pain. Although the meaning of our life will be intimately bound up with our experience of suffering. With this Chiron placement, we might eventually be asked to sacrifice our suffering. So again, when you have this Chiron, this is what you're going to suffer. You're going to put yourself in a victim role for a time. Again, you're learning this, and you'll be able to work through this a lot quicker. And these experiences, you will be able to take what is necessary from these Chironic experiences, which gave you pain, so that you can take what you specifically needed to learn from that, a positive, so that you don't have to do that anymore. What will we do without the familiar pain we know so well, the constant friend and companion who never leaves us. And again, that's what we're having to leave for some of us. If you have Chiron in Pisces or the 12th house, you may enter the profession of healing in one form or another in self-defense. You will probably attract people who need comfort, compassion, support, and make unceasing demands on your time and energy. I know several people with this placement who coped with this by deciding to drift with the inevitable. Through their professional work, they accommodated this fate in a very Virgoian 6th house way, with strong boundaries and specific skills. As they could not stem the tide, they decided to organize it so that they could benefit from it too. If you have this Chiron placement, a healthy dose of practicality and self-interest can be useful, although the pragmatism and mercurial opportunism of Virgo might at first seem rather alien. Commitment to form and structure for both the benefit of yourself and others is sometimes a creative solution to the dilemma of this placement. On the other hand, with Chiron in Pisces or the 12th house, you also need periods of creative isolation, although you may at first resist and fear this. Your sensitivity may leave you at times feeling drained and overwhelmed, and you may periodically need to retreat. That is absolutely true. To re-energize our batteries, absolutely, because we are sensitive to others' energies, and so we do get filled up. And so we need to have that personal time for ourselves. And each and every one of you, you will learn this for yourself and how it is best for you specifically to re-energize your batteries. And again, I also wanted to say that those that have planets or even your South Node or Chiron in the 12th house, the way that you enable that energy, that locked up energy within yourself to be released properly is through service, but it is definitely a balance. And you will go through your own experiences and learn that for yourself exactly what that balance is for you. Okay. With this placement, we often have difficulty tolerating separation. We may erode our spouse's or children's sense of personal initiative or demand sacrifices from them with our unspoken demand for unity, which can escalate into emotional blackmail. There's that passive-aggressive part that we must face within ourselves, which can be rather, for some of us, narcissistic. You can read about narcissism, golden child, scapegoat, and that could be very, very beneficial. It absolutely was for me. We may become ill or even threaten suicide if those we love become too separate from us. And I want to also say that I have, having to do with narcissist and scapegoat and golden child, I have written several years ago, I believe it was 2016 was the first, and then 2018 I wrote another little article, and I posted them both on different websites. I don't recall right now, but you can look up my name, Cherie Banning, Baning. You look that up on the search engine, and those articles will come up. So if that sounds like something that you want to look into, you go right ahead and read my article. That's a personal of what I went through having to do with Chiron and all of my planets in the 12th house in Pisces and my South Node. Okay. Okay, so we may become ill or even threaten suicide if those we love become too separate from us. We can be adept at stirring up emotional chaos, making tempers rise around us and retaining an air of vague innocence throughout. And this is absolutely true. We have to get a grasp on that so that we don't do that anymore. I had to go through this same exact thing. And no, it is not easy, of course, facing those specific demons within ourselves, especially when we see ourselves. I'm a Pisces as well, so we see ourselves as innocent and loving and so giving. I saw myself that way, but I didn't see that secreted away part of myself. And that's what they're talking about, the fear, just a general fear of knowing that dark part of yourself. But as soon as you do, you free yourself and you are freed. Freed from the guilt, freed from the fear, and freed from the anger. It's no more because you've taken care of it properly. And your south node, no doubt, plays a part for a lot of you, if not all of you. Okay. Let me take a look at the time. Okay, I am going to be running long. I apologize. This is a long read. So when it stops is when it stops. Any of you who want me to continue or want me to continue the video where I left off, you send me a comment, leave me an email, or if you just want the written, or if you want both, let me know and I will do it. But I will not finish the reading unless you let me know that that is important to you. Okay, so I will just read as long as I can because my video will stop. And I don't know why, if somebody out there knows why my video just automatically stops at about 45 minutes, I can't figure it out. 45 to 52 minutes. It's never exactly the same. Let me know. Okay, so let's keep going here. One man whose parents both had Chiron and Pisces encountered this every time he chose to do something outside his parents' wishes. Words such as, "You've no idea how much this will hurt your father," or mother, depending on who was talking, accompanied his struggle to assert himself. So it absolutely can be ancestral. You can pass these things down. And if you're one who chooses to look at your family's personal natal wheels, you can see that. It's very, very interesting. With this placement, there is often a deep wound connected with grief. Perhaps we feel a chronic existential grief, often crying for no apparent reason. We grieve for the pain we imagine others to be feeling, even if they are not aware of it themselves. Our feelings may be archetypal rather than personal. We may mourn the loss of original unity and bliss, which inevitably accompanies the initial stages of psychological maturation. In addition, with this placement, specific traumas of blocked grief and incomplete mourning frequently occur. For to grieve means to acknowledge death, duality, and separation. And we may find this impossible unless we already have some sense of the overall continuity of life. We may deny the feelings that accompany the mourning process and maintain a spaced out and precarious happiness instead. Later, this may wreak havoc with our health and well-being. However, our first experience of deep mourning may also unlock our inner world and send us on a journey of self-discovery, where the illusion of duality may finally be dissolved. We may discover we are already where we long to be. No more an exile or a stranger to life. With Chiron and Pisces or the 12th house, we may feel deep compassion for others and the central struggle of our life may be to create a suitable vehicle, Virgo in the 6th house, to offer this compassion. Astrologer Eve Jackson found Chiron in the 12th house prominent in the charts of healers. Illness often expresses disconnection from the sense of unity with life, and those who remain in touch with this 12th house experience are natural healers. With this placement, we may eventually feel the wisdom realizing emptiness spoken of in Buddhism, just as the process of minutely analyzing something reveals ever more void and less form. So we may eventually relinquish our search for a personal sense of identity and instead base our security in the mysterious process of life as a whole. Several famous composers and musicians have this placement. Music speaks to the feelings and directly addresses our longings for unity, love, and redemption. Okay, I'm just going to fast forward here. It's talking about specific people and specific placements they have in their chart, and I'm just going to fast forward that. Again, if you're interested, leave me an email, leave your email, and I will send you a copy. As this sign and house are preoccupied with universal concerns, when Chiron transits through Pisces, we would expect to see its themes manifest themselves within the collective, and indeed they do. Okay. Since the early 19th century, every transit of Chiron through Pisces has seen a major war and featured issues such as the rights of Black people and or other socially oppressed groups. Racism and the abuse of humans' rights provoke strong emotions of guilt, fear, anger, and sorrow in us. They are flagrant examples of everything that divides man from man and betrays our underlying sense of unity. They thus typify, at a collective level, the wound of Chiron in Pisces. Chiron was in Pisces from 1861 to 1869, it looks like. During this period, the American Civil War raged, and abolition of slavery was a continuous issue obsessed by the southern states, reluctant to give up the privileges it had brought them. Although the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, 1865, freed the slaves, the legal equality of Black people was short-lived. Chiron was again in Pisces from 1910 to 1918. World War I changed the face of Europe forever. Invasions and counter-invasions radically altered the boundaries of many countries. Thousands of men were disabled by noxious gas used in warfare for the first time. Okay, I'm going to just fast forward here. The most recent transit of Chiron through Pisces, 1960 through 1969, saw the fiercest period of guerrilla activity in the Vietnam War. Countless young men were killed or maimed. Many returned disillusioned or addicted to hard drugs. Others disappeared without trace. Here also are the Piscean themes: unseen enemies, deception, sacrifice, disillusionment, drug addiction. In America, the peace and love movement was active, accompanied by music inspired by drug experiences. Mass disillusion set in as the American dream became the American nightmare.